It's Sandra Levy with Drugstore News. Today I'm at Walgreens in Perth Amboy. Today I'm with Ramita Tandon, Chief Clinical Trials Officer of Walgreens. Hi, thank you for joining us today. I was wondering if you could say, what is the future of clinical trials and what does it mean for Walgreens going forward?
First and foremost, Sandra, good to see you and thank you for being here today on a very exciting day as we celebrate our 2-year milestone since we've kicked off our clinical trials enterprise at Walgreens. You know, for us, it was very important to make sure that we looked to build out an enterprise that would tackle 2 key areas that have plagued this industry. Number 1, the lack of representation that exists in clinical trials. And number 2, the accessibility. And we believe that the retail pharmacy, our footprint across this nation with over 8,700 locations, our trust and brand that we've been in these communities well over 100 years, offers an alternative site of care to give patients within these communities like Perth Amboy an opportunity to be able to get access to novel therapies, investigational therapies, device and diagnostics right in their doorsteps. And we're opening up our Walgreens locations to be able to have patients first and foremost be educated about a clinical trial because most of our communities don't even know what a clinical trial is. But then to feel educated and empowered, and then to be able to come here, such as Perth Amboy, to get clinical trial services right near where they live.
Can you speak about the training of pharmacists that's going forward now?
Yeah, just a couple months ago, we launched what's called the National Clinical Trials Pharmacy Training Program. And that really offers pharmacies, the pharmacy teams, an opportunity to kind of learn the human subject protection, GCP, all the different regulations and guidelines, done all online, 3 hours at length. And it offers continuing education credits for pharmacists. So we're super excited as we've rolled this out across the nation. We've got a couple hundred pharmacists that have already signed up. But if a pharmacist participates in one of our clinical trials, it is a requirement for pharmacists to be trained first before they participate in aspects of our workflow.
Well, you've often spoken about reaching young people. How does this fit in with those thoughts?
You know, the youth is a significant opportunity for us to catalyze a movement on understanding your health, being empowered about your health. And in terms of clinical trials, because less than 5% of this nation participate in clinical research, there's a natural lack of awareness. There's some myths. There's some, fear around participation. So we believe if we start with the youth, to help them to be educated and empowered and see clinical trials as a care option as they think about their own care journey, we think that's a great way to start that foundation. So as they start getting older and wanting to look at ways to build healthier lives, they can start having conversations with their providers, whether it's nurses, physicians, pharmacists, about, is there a clinical trial that's for me that could help my particular disease or condition?
Are there certain disease states that you feel are really ripe for clinical trials?
Here at the retail pharmacy, certainly, in the last 2 years, we've been very focused on some of the primary care-led diseases as we think about diabetes, cardiovascular outcomes, Alzheimer's. These are conditions that impact the swath of the nation. So our ability to reach out to diverse patient populations in those diseases is a natural fit for us. Certainly vaccines. During the COVID pandemic, we were, first and foremost upfront delivering the vaccinations. So vaccine trials is certainly an area of focus for us. And then the diagnostic space, as we think about prevention and, getting these diagnostics out in the hands of the patient populations, is another area of focus for us as well.
Can you also just say what you think is the greatest challenge of clinical trials and how you've solved those problems?
I think it's been around, first and foremost, historically, the clinical trial industry has been built to support white, affluent, urban neighborhoods. And the ecosystem is baked in such a way that we have all these healthcare systems and, academic medical centers that are running these trials. But, during the COVID pandemic, we learned first and foremost that there was a need for us to think differently and create other sorts of partnerships and leveraging retail pharmacies as alternative sites of care. So I think it's, twofold. Number one, making sure we're educating populations about the value clinical research can play in their care journey. But more importantly, having people more comfortable in using retail pharmacy as an alternative site of care to be able to deliver clinical trial services within the communities as we build the right highway and drive clinical trials to where the patients are located in their communities.
So the future seems very bright and very exciting.
We're excited because, as we think about healthcare, it's really centered around community-centered healthcare. And you think about clinical trials, it's the same. So we're excited about being part of the equation, being part of the enterprise. We look forward to partnerships across this ecosystem as we build that right highway into our communities, like here in Perth Amboy.
Well, Ramita, thank you so much for sharing your insights and for inviting Drugstore News here today.
Thank you, Sandy.
My pleasure.
So we find ourselves here today in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, which is actually one of our flagship clinical trial locations. The Perth Amboy community is very diverse. We have a primarily Hispanic population here, about 80%. This store actually has been in location since 1998, about 30 years serving the community, and just a really engaged and fun store team that we have here for patients. This was actually one of the first locations that I visited almost 2 years ago when we launched the business. And it's been such an exciting ride since then. We've accomplished more than I think any of us could have expected, both in terms of our ability to identify Walgreens patients who are interested and want to participate in trials, connecting them with opportunities, but now at locations like this, taking it a step further and actually dispensing their investigational product, doing procedures right here on site, convenient to where they live.
Today is our big immersion day for our clinical trials, letting the world know about what's going on and our impact with Walgreens that we can have on clinical research. It's a straight voluntary process. So we put all of our information out there and enough for if a customer comes through or a patient comes through, they're able to ask questions if they'd like. And so nothing is really put in their face or anything like that. It's completely voluntary. And we're just accessible to answer any questions that they have. To be part of clinical research is like, for me at least personally, it's a dream come true. Like I never thought being in retail setting that clinical trials would be something that we would be doing. Just to be part of that process is amazing. We need to bring some representation into these clinical trials. Our stores particularly are the perfect place to get started.
Today, we are celebrating a huge milestone for the business as we are implementing clinical trials right here at the New Jersey Perth Amboy pharmacy location. It's an exciting time for us where we're actually bringing patients in to be able to be educated about what a clinical trial is and to be able to get clinical trial services. Clinical trials is the backbone for advancements of new therapies, diagnostics, and devices. And it really is an investigational process that allows patients to come in to be able to be given an opportunity on these new novel therapies and diagnostics, but also an opportunity to make sure that that particular diagnostic drug is safe, it's effective, before it gets approved by the FDA and goes into our pharmacies to be dispensed by our pharmacists. Yeah, historically, clinical trials, the enterprise has been, developed to really support a lot of urban, affluent, and white neighborhoods, which unfortunately has left behind a lion's share of this nation to be invited or be familiar of what a clinical trial is. And so for us at Walgreens, it's very important to make sure that we are making sure that clinical research is accessible and equitable for all the communities that we serve across our ecosystem. As an organization, we've been very committed to our communities as we dispense medications, as we support patient care. But as we think about healthcare, it's evolving. And there's an opportunity to make sure that healthcare is personal and convenient. As we think about clinical research, it's about thinking of it as a care option. And it's an extension of our healthcare strategy at Walgreens as we look at providing healthcare services. So as we have patients coming in to learn about what a clinical trial is, it's an opportunity for them to be educated and also become part of the healthcare system, particularly if they've been left behind, they've not been invited, or there's a lot of disparities around the type of care that they've been receiving within their communities.